Hello, we are Team Total Chaos from Portland, Oregon. In this video, I will be explaining how to build and program a simple robot controller app. This app is installed on one of the ZTE phones and is then connected to the robot. It lets you control it. By now, you should have installed the App Inventor on your computer, which was explained in the previous video. Now we will start programming the App Inventor. In App Inventor, on the top left-hand corner, there should be a button called Start New Project. Click that. After that, rename the project. For example, My RC App. This should open the project pane. On the left-hand side, there should be something called the palette. The palette can help you create new programs and op modes. Under the palette, there are multiple sections. The one we want is First Tech Challenge. To get basic abilities like connecting to the driver station, using Wi-Fi Direct, and scanning the robot using the USB, drag and drop the FTC robot controller block from the palette. We will need to specify the configuration file for this robot that we will use later. To do this, select the robot controller block in the Properties pane and find the configuration property and type the name MyBot. Now we are going to create a new op mode to control the robot. To do that, select the FTC op mode item from the palette and drag and drop it to the viewer pane. Keep in mind that this is a non-visible component, so you won't be able to see the block, but you can see it at the bottom of the viewer pane. Now we will rename the op mode to something more useful like op elapsed. To do this, select the component and then click the Rename button and specify a new name. Then click the OK button. Now we will rename it in the Properties tab. Name it Elapsed Op Mode. The difference between these two is that the name in the Properties tab is what shows up on the driver station. Now we can start programming the op mode. To do that, click on the Blocks button on the top right-hand corner. After you get to the Blocks pane and find the op elapsed component, click on it. This will open up a number of different programming blocks in the viewer pane. There are some key terms you should know when programming op modes. They are called event handlers. Whenever you push a button on the driver station, an event is triggered that is handled by the robot controller app. The first one is init. This is triggered when the op mode is first initialized. It happens when the driver pushes the init button on the driver station. The next one is start. This is triggered when the start button on the driver station is pushed. You can use this to do tasks you only need at the start of the op mode. Loop is also a very important event to know. It is executed repeatedly every 30 milliseconds. This is where you do most of the work. When the stop button on the driver station is pressed, the stop event is triggered. You can use this to clean your op mode after it is done running. The purple blocks are called procedure or method blocks. This is an example. Get runtime. This is what returns the current runtime in seconds. Now click on the robot controller item in the blocks pane and look at the programming blocks for that object. The last two blocks in purple are methods on the robot controller that you can use. These two blocks are telemetry add numeric data. This lets you send numeric data from the robot controller to the driver station. And telemetry add text data. This lets you send a text string from the robot controller to the driver station. The telemetry data is displayed in the driver station and lets you find out what is happening with your robot. Here's what we are going to do in our program today. We are going to send back the current runtime from the robot whenever the loop event is triggered. Click on the op elapsed object and select the loop handler and place the block onto the viewer pane. Click on the FTC Robot Controller 1 object in the Blocks pane to display the programming blocks. Select the call telemetry add numeric data block and place it inside the loop handler block. This means that the telemetry add numeric data method is going to get called every time the loop event is triggered, which is roughly every 30 milliseconds or so. We now need to tell the telemetry add numeric data method what key and number to send. The key we want is runtime as a string, and the number we want is the current runtime. Here's how we are going to send these values. Go into the blocks pane and click on the text button. Select the text string and drag it to where it says key notch on the block. We just added an empty string. Now click inside the string and type runtime. The last thing we need to do is get the current runtime so that we can send it back to the driver station using the telemetry function. Click on the op elapsed component in the blocks pane of the App Inventor window and select the call op elapsed. Place the block in the number notch of the telemetry programming block. That's it. Now your program is complete. Now let's go over how this works. Each time the loop event for the op elapsed is triggered, the app will use the telemetry add numeric data method to send the current runtime. The driver station will receive this telemetry data and display it on the screen so the driver can see the current runtime. Now we are going to install the app on one of the ZTE phones. But before we install this robot controller app that you created with App Inventor, it is very important that this robot controller app is the only robot controller app on your driver station, on your Android device. Go to your phone and delete any existing robot controller app from it. Once you have installed the app onto your Android device, there should be an icon called FTC Robot Controller App. Start this app. Now that this is open, we need to create a configuration file. The purpose of this configuration file is to tell the robot what hardware devices are connected to the robot controller through the USB port. For the program we created, we don't need any motors or servos, so we will be creating an empty configuration file. To do this, click the three dots in the top right of the app. Then click the Settings button and then the Configure Robot button under it. On the top left corner, there should be a New button. Click this to create a new configuration. Now click on Save Configuration to save this. When prompted, enter MyBot as the file name. Remember that this is the name we specified in the configuration property for the FTC Robot Controller 1 component when we built our app. Use your Android device's back arrow to return to the previous screen. Keep pressing the back arrow button until you are back at the main robot controller screen. You should see in the upper right-hand corner that the configuration file MyBot is now active. Now that we have a configuration file, we are ready to pair the driver station to the robot controller so that they can talk to each other. Before you can control the robot from your driver station, you have to connect the driver station to the robot controller. We do this by using a technology called Wi-Fi Direct. For this system, the robot controller acts as the Wi-Fi Direct group owner, which means that it owns it and controls it. Once the driver station has been paired to the robot, the driver station will always look for that robot controller until it is paired with a different robot controller. In order to pair your two devices, you will need to make sure that both of the Android devices are powered on and that the FTC Robot Controller app and the FTC Driver Station app are running on their respective devices. To start connecting the two phones, click the three dots in the right-hand corner and click the Setting button. Then click Pair with the robot controller. From the driver station's Wi-Fi Direct pairing activity, look for your robot controller in the listed devices available. Select the device. If this is the first time you are pairing devices, then you will see a prompt on the robot controller asking if it is okay to establish a Wi-Fi Direct connection. Click OK. Once you have paired your device to the robot controller, you should see a message on the driver station main screen showing that the driver station is now connected to a robot controller. Open the driver station app and then select the Op Mode button. Then select the Elapsed Op Mode. Now press the Init button. This will initialize the Op Mode on the robot controller app. Now press the Start or Play button. This runs the op mode. Once the op is running on the robot controller app, the loop will get called, which will send the telemetry data back to the driver station app. You should see the runtime value show up on your driver station app, and it should keep updating until you stop the op mode by pressing the Stop button. Congratulations, you are now done and creating and connecting the op mode. I hope you learned how to create and run a simple robot controller. Thanks for watching.